In this episode, I talk with a local business owner and artist, Kasey Ann. Kasey talks about her struggles with ADD and ADHD and her diagnosis later in life. Though a lot of people struggle with this disorder, many go undiagnosed and it oftentimes hinders their production and quality of life. She also shares some personal struggles in her life that has helped shape who she is today. I love talking with her. I hope you guys enjoy it as well. Please check out her social media and her business, Stella Cora Design on Facebook. All the links are provided in the show notes. And as always, please consider following me on social media for future podcast swag giveaways. Thanks again for listening. Enjoy. All right. Welcome to the Rising Above podcast. My name is David Hess, and today I have Kasey Ann with me. She is a local business owner, and believe she also works at another job, and she has kids on top of it. So she's a local savage. Anyways, Kasey, do you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and what you do for work?
All right. Yes. Well, my name is Kasey. I do have two boys. I went 17 and 10, and then
you have a 17-year-old.
I do.
You don't look that old.
Well, thanks. But no, they're good kiddos and a crazy dog. Work-wise, I work for the state full time, and so it's a nice job. But I also love my art, photography, painting, charcoal, pastel. We actually grew up in the Chesaning area, but we had family in this area, so we moved down when I was about 14 to the Charlotte area.
Okay.
And then...
So did you go to Charlotte schools?
No.
Okay.
My parents thought going to Bellevue was a good idea.
Oh,
so
Bellevue.
that's not the best time. But anyway, besides that, that's a cute little village, but I moved away from there and moved to Lansing just this last February.
Okay.
So
You like it better here, or?
I do. I mean, I do like being more towards the country is nice, but Lansing has a lot to offer.
Okay.
And a lot for the kids to do.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I lived in Bellevue for a short time, and it was a boring little city. I would always, every single day, I think I was still in high school, so I'd like drive my moped to Charlotte to hang out with friends and go do things. I'm from Charlotte, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Charlotte's a cute place too, but yeah. I do enjoy Lansing, I think, more.
Yeah,
but
I do too, because I mean everything's here. You have all the big box stores and whatnot. Just makes traveling a little bit easier too. Because I remember like living in Charlotte, I have to go to Lansing for that. I have to go to Lansing for this. So yeah. So you work for the state. You have a family, and you also own a business. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, my business is Stella Cora Design. At first I was just working mostly on doing portraits, and then I wanted to venture more off to what I like. My passion is doing like the prints and the more artsy. Of course, always do the family portraits and such. That's always the thing that can happen. But my painting, I used to be huge into drawing and painting when I was a teenager and younger than that, and then having children and going through life and
course of life. Before
you know it, like 20 years has went by and you're like, wow, I'm getting older. But besides that, you like start to forget about some of your passions. And so in the last probably 5 years, I started painting again. And now I'm actually displaying. I do abstract art and fluid art. A lot of people love this fluid art. Like I previously had said to people before that anyone can do it. And I think it's kind of a cool stress reliever, but I definitely sell my stuff too because everyone has their own style.
Right.
So I'm just kind of a little jack of all trades when it comes to the art portion.
Now, how did you get involved in art? Did you go to art college, or did you just kind of always been interested in art?
It started way back. I mean, I remember being able to draw like a face and a person when I was in like first grade, and it being like actually looking like something. And so my parents would always like, well, you know, versus like when sometimes my kids will bring me these pictures, and they are very talented kids, but when they were a little younger, it's like, what? Oh, yeah, that is a man. Where people could see and actually see it's a
That's
person.
how my drawings still look.
Hey, it's okay. You can just practice it out. It's just about shapes and morphine. You're good.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So really young.
Okay.
And my parents tried to feed into that as much as I could.
Oh, that's cool. So they're always supportive of it.
Hmm.
So you didn't go to art college?
Nope, not to art college. I did do graphic design for a year and a half, and then I left college. I was like college dropout, I guess. Community college? No, that's great. I went to KCC for a bit.
Okay.
And then I just tried to go a different career path, and life happened. And then I went back and I got my associates for psychology.
Oh, cool.
So I'm just kind of doing a little bit of everything.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that going to school for something that you like to do for fun necessarily would kind of like just become a job at that point. Wouldn't be.
You do lose your passion for certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I noticed that when I love taking pictures of people. I enjoy it. It's just I started to lose my passion for photography when I was so worried about, oh, this person, are they going to like this? Are they going to like that? Because I was just being overly critical. I can be a little bit perfectionistic, and so...
Isn't that every artist?
It is, and that's why things take a while. So.
My wife always says when she's doing a painting that it never feels like it's done.
Right, you always see it. But then that's the problem, is you have to learn to, like, step back. Oh, I didn't get... I see the echo.
You're good.
So
it draws the listener in a little bit more. They're like,
right.
What did she just say?
Yeah, that's right. See? No. I won't keep playing tricks with the microphone. But
So, do you have a storefront? Are you located anywhere here in Lansing?
No, I don't, but I've been through quite a few galleries.
Okay.
And there's a place that this lady, I need to get a hold of her. She's asked me to come up actually in St. John's a couple times. So I'm actually going to see if I can get featured in a few different galleries in Lansing. And I just do all the work from my home in my basement. I have my own little corner in the basement.
kind of like my podcast studio.
Yep. I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Got to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
So you sell your work online?
Yeah. Through my Facebook page right now.
Okay.
And then I have my websites almost ready to launch. I just wanted to redo everything.
Oh, cool.
Since the move.
So how long have you had what's it called?
Stella Cora Design.
Stella Cora in design. How long have you had that business?
Well, it was previously Kasey and Photography.
Okay.
And then last year, 2020, I was like, I'm going to buy a new camera. I'm going to get some new stuff. I'm going to revamp my business. Well, we all know 2020 was what it was.
Right.
And it's still extending. But I'd say since 2011 is when I started the Kasey and Photography.
Okay.
And then revamp with the new name last year.
Oh, cool.
So, because I want to take a different direction. Thanks.
I like that name. Where'd you get it from?
It was actually after my great-great-grandmother, I believe. I was doing the research for our family tree.
Okay.
And when I seen the name Stella Cora, I was like, oh, that is awesome.
That was somebody's name?
Yeah, it's my great-great-grandma's name. Stella Cora Charret, or I don't even know how to pronounce her name. But anyway, I was like, wow, that's a cool name. And then after some time, because I did the tree, and then probably about 5 or 6 months later, I was like wanting to change business name. And I was like, well, why not use a family type name? And it sounds fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's...
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
It kind of has like a nice soft touch to it.
Yeah, thank you.
So you have some art with you. Would you mind holding that up and showing it on camera?
Sure.
So some art and I think some photography.
Yeah. So I oh, that was loud. So I do all sorts of art. I brought the abstract fluid art and then the photography, but where am I going?
Yeah.
Right. So this one's just smaller. I don't know how to. These ones are darker, but like I said, these are so fun. Like I would like to eventually do something with, like, maybe have. I think I told you previously, but now we're on the podcast. So, like with teaching children to do this, because I think it would increase their confidence. Because really, I think anyone can do these as long as you learn your color theory and get the right consistency.
So are you are you thinking about just teaching how to do that specifically, or teaching the color theory and kind of just breaking down the art process?
Probably like a mini color theory, just a crash course.
Okay.
So, and with if it was doing some type of class with kids, um, keeping it limited colors,
Right.
probably like 3 to 4 colors. So
Okay.
I probably wouldn't get too wild, but nope, I don't know which ones you want me to show.
Show all of them.
Well, there's that one.
That's pretty cool.
These ones I like because they're more kind of like a beachy.
Yeah,
I think
that's cool.
actually one of these is spoken for, but I haven't dropped them off yet. And then here I've done a canvas print of this, but this was
very
just of
cool.
an old. It was a crane out in a field.
Oh, wow.
This house I had lived at, and then
So are you one of these people that when you're driving, you're like, "Err." I need to get a picture of that.
Yes, I tried it. Well, I'm like, well, yeah, because I kind of look at things in frames.
Okay.
You know, so some people might just see a barn, and then I'm like closed in on this one specific section. It's like artist mind.
Right.
But,
Right.
yeah.
It's kind of always going.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was
Well,
what-
I don't like the frame around this one, or the matting. But this one was Tunnel Park in Holland.
okay.
So I just like to capture the beauty. Of
Now,
what
do you-
I see.
Do you do photography for like businesses, or you said you do like weddings and family photography and stuff like that?
I have done weddings, and I've done some work for businesses, just a good spattering.
Okay.
So, trying to think more. I've liked to do senior photos.
Okay.
Family stuff is good too, but the weddings, they're a lot. They're a lot of work.
And everybody's so picky.
Well, I mean, it's their wedding.
Yeah, you don't want to mess
It's
it
a high
up.
pressure, yeah. But it's fun, and everyone, with the plus is everyone looks their best.
Right, that's true.
So it makes it easier.
That's true.
In that sense.
Now, you had mentioned, and you said you're kind of nervous to talk about it a little bit, but you said you struggled with some things later on in life. ADHD, you were later on diagnosed with, right?
Yeah.
And ADD. You want to talk about that and like how the struggles were, I guess, at a younger age versus now?
Yeah, well, when you're younger, and I was, growing up, I'm almost 40. So, like, I think there's a lot of women that weren't diagnosed when they were younger, so in the same boat as me. But through school, I had inattention, but I was quiet. Wasn't like the boys that, were bouncing off the walls that had the problem. And then that led into, I did okay in school. I didn't do great, but I did okay.
So you had ADHD, but you were quiet and you were just kind of reserved?
Mm-hmm.
So how did that affect you?
It was more, everything was distracting around me. So
Okay.
noise, certain noises, and focus was impossible. So I would just doodle. Now look what's happened. I would just doodle all the time in my notebook, and then the teacher would call on me, and I'd be like, I don't know. So, this lack of confidence.
Do you think it had something to do with it just being boring?
And some of
That
it
it didn't
might,
catch your attention?
some of it was boring. Some of it was boring, definitely, because I'm a kid, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to obviously draw pictures.
Right.
But I think sometimes, like with different subjects, I guess it depends. But as an adult, it was even harder for me to like maintain my household, and I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that, and things were just piling up around me, and I just felt very overwhelmed. And then in my late 20s, early 30s is when I finally got diagnosed. And I don't like taking medicine, but when they did put me on a treatment plan, after just a couple days, I was like, this is it. This is how other people do life. So like I was more focused, and I was able to, maintain my household. It wasn't a disaster all the time.
What kind of treatment plan did they put you on? Was it just medication?
Medication.
What kind of medication did they put you on?
Adderall.
Adderall. Okay.
We started out really low,
Mhm.
and I don't want to take it like a high amount, but we started out very low. Then they had to increase
Okay.
a couple times. Then we decreased, and then we bopped it back where it
Okay.
was. So, because it's as simple as, it's just like your mind's always racing, and it's just racing and racing, and you hyper focus on certain things, insomnia,
Mhm.
like all these things come into play, or like for me right now, trying to stay even with treatment, I tell the best stories because I start a story and we go like 10, 15 other stories.
Right. A
And
bunch
then,
of rabbit holes.
Yeah. And so it's difficult. So keep me on track. Keep me on track.
It might make for an interesting podcast.
Maybe.
You'd be like, what the heck are they talking about?
You're like, I thought we were talking about her and her struggles, and now we're listening to what? No.
So now you've kind of established a sense of stability in your life to where you feel like you can live a normal, I guess, life, and you feel like you're not struggling day to day.
Well, you can definitely tell when I don't take my medicine because, well, I took it about an hour ago, so it should be kicked in, hopefully, for you. But I normally don't take it on the weekends because it's a stimulant.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't think it's the best for people to take for your heart and such. But I just definitely, there was such a stigmatism for people that had mental problems. And when I was younger, I tried to explain this to my mom, and she thought I was like crazy. She told my dad, "I'm worried. Do you think she's like okay?"
Oh
And
my
he's like,
gosh.
and then they never took me in anywhere. And I'm like, well, okay, we're just gonna,
Right.
like I said, great parents. They encouraged the art. They didn't know what to do about the other, the focus situation.
Right.
But I would think that anyone that if they're feeling like overwhelmed and they just like can't ever, like you feel like you just can't complete something, you can't get it done. And then sometimes you just want to lock yourself away and you just
Right.
like go get treatment, go get diagnosed. I don't know, if you can't afford to see someone, I don't know, maybe have a little coffee. Like,
does coffee help? I would think that would make it worse.
It does help because it's a stimulant. In that sense, it will help you focus. There are other natural ways to do things.
Smoke pot.
I don't know.
That's
if
more
that,
of a downer, though.
I don't know if that would help. It would help creatively.
That's true.
But I don't think I don't know if smoking pot's gonna help the ADD person. I guess it depends. What they have, the one that makes you like fine, and then they have the one that makes you want to eat the snacks and go to sleep. So the one that makes you fine, probably.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
The different strains.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Wow. So, how did that affect you at work? And because I mean, obviously, you said you had trouble focusing. You said you work for the state, so I'd imagine you have a desk job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How would that affect you when you weren't on your medication to where then you went on your medication?
I don't even think I would have got into the state if I was not on medication.
Oh, you were okay. So you were treated before.
Yep.
Okay.
I've been with them since 2017.
Oh, okay.
So, like prior to that, other jobs, I still had secretarial, office administrative type work. But I know that my secretary work when I was in my 20s, like I remember my boss would come up to me and I had a list and I had calendars because I was trying to do my best because I knew I was so forgetful and just couldn't do anything right kind of like mentality. And he wasn't saying that. My mind, that was what I was telling myself, beating myself up. Like, oh, you better note this, oh, you better do this, and you better put a reminder in. And there's still things he'd come up. Did you not call them? Did you not this? And I'm like, and I left that position. It wasn't that I got fired, but if I would have continued on like that, like you're not gonna be employable.
Right.
Like people, I don't want to hire someone that they're counting on to do these things. So it definitely affects your success.
Right.
It can delay your success rate in life.
So do you feel that after you got treated that your success rate went up? Do you feel like you're more successful now and that you can, because I would imagine that my wife says I have ADD, which maybe I should go get diagnosed. and I hope she doesn't listen to this podcast.
We'll just talk about the pictures some more and be like, you know what? She decided not to share, so we're just gonna not put it out there.
But like, you know, like for me, I would think that if you had a hard time paying attention and like keeping track, keeping course, that it would be very difficult to be successful. But then after you got treated, that you would be able to just conquer everything. That's how I would feel.
Right.
I would think.
I think so. My oldest son, exhibits more of the hyperactive portion versus I was more inattention. But I still told him, I said, you can use it like a superpower if you take care of yourself. Have the right food. You have to have the right sleep. You have to take care of your body, exercise. I gotta do that some more. But still, like, you have to be cognizant of your body, what it needs. And also, and he doesn't like to take the medicine. I don't make him take it. But if you need the medicine, if you feel you perform better in life with it, then get it. Because, I mean, it's not good for your heart to take long term, though.
Right.
I mean,
and you shouldn't be dependent on it.
I don't want to be, yeah.
You know, like if you can find other avenues like working out or eating healthy or finding some sort of stress relievers that would, you know, help that, then it'd probably be better to do that.
I agree.
Now, what kind of foods do you eat to kind of help with the treatment, I guess, of it? Do you eat like a special type of diet?
I have found that I'm mostly good on this diet. Mostly is keto. And I say mostly good as in I am usually pretty good about staying on it.
Okay.
But that helps with the focus.
Okay.
But you can't do like they call it good keto and bad keto, and everybody has a name for it. Like, I don't sit there and eat I actually barely eat bacon. Like, some people are like, oh, I can have a pound of bacon and have guacamole all day. And I'm like, well, kind of. But I'm doing like the dark leafy greens, broccoli, and meats. And
you found that diet works good for you?
I tend to have more energy.
Okay.
Working out in the morning.
What kind of workouts do you do?
I really like to I have a Planet Fitness membership.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't been there in forever because of COVID stuff. So I went back for a little bit and getting back in. But when I go, I like to do like elliptical and then just kind of run my own little circuit on the machines.
Okay.
And
so you're kind of doing like high intensity things?
Yeah.
Things that get your heart rate up?
Yeah.
Now, do you find that doing high intensity things or like hard cardio helps kind of like wind you down a little bit? Bring you back to a normal state of being?
I do. I think so. And that might be like getting your blood pumping and getting things moving, kind of like evens everything out, versus if that's a lot of things. That's a problem for a lot of people, is they're not getting the exercise that they should.
Right.
I mean, we're supposed to be moving.
Absolutely.
We're people. We got to move. And with us, like, I mean, I have what you had said, you work on the assembly.
Yeah.
I sit a lot during my work day. And so we have all this pent up energy. So
right.
I don't know, for me, working out in the morning is better because it gets the blood going like sooner.
I don't know how people who work in offices do it. If I had to sit here all day long, I think I would go crazy. I was actually just editing a podcast the other day, and I have a gym right there.
Oh, good.
And so like my wife was working out, and there was a band here, like a elastic band, and I was doing curls and stuff. I'm like, man, if I had an office job, this is totally what I would do all day. I would get my arms jacked. But yeah, I would think that working out would help tremendously with ADD and ADHD, especially like hard cardio, because what I found was running like a significant amount of miles, or even like I have a Rogue Echo bike, and an elliptical. Doing those things, like just going and pushing as hard as you can, it wears you out, and then it makes you more calm. Like for me, it made me calm. Like I would wake up in the morning and go for a couple mile run before work with my dog, and it would set the tone for the day for me, and I'd be calm and relaxed.
I agree. It puts you in a good mood.
Yeah.
And then I feel like then I'm like, okay, I've done that. Now what next? You just feel like you can take the day on, and
You can check one thing off your list.
I
Okay,
do,
I did that.
Yep, lists are good too.
And
Yeah.
there's so many things you can do if you have ADD and ADHD, because one of the big excuses for people is, I have ADD, I can't remember. Like, you can definitely remember. You can do things to help yourself remember. Set alarms in your phone. You just got to kind of take some accountability as well.
Right, like you can, yeah, that's the thing, is just are you willing to make the change too? At first I didn't really know what was going on. I was like, I just had the lack of like confidence, and just thought, oh, I just am not good at life apparently. And then and then I realized, I'm like, well, I can do this to do better. Then I got treatment, and I'm like, okay, now I can really do better, because I was focused on making myself better. So yeah, I don't like people making excuses for it. Like, yeah, you can be forgetful, but don't use it as a crutch.
Right. And I mean, as long as you're trying, you got to try to make a positive change. And if you got to be ready to, like you said. So you said that there were some other things you struggled with in life. You didn't share with me earlier in Facebook. I don't know if you want to talk about that, or
well, when you had put the post on line, and like I said, I'm not really big on getting on camera and doing stuff, but I just thought it is important to tell people like kind of a little bit of your story, so they can relate that you can get past difficult times. So like many other people, everyone has difficult times, and some of mine were obviously the ADD, and you know, I had a rough time with my oldest son's father. We had some bad times. We're fine now. He's cool. But, you know, you go through certain things with that, you know, divorce and such. And then most recently, I'd say the last few years, actually, I shouldn't say most recently, I had been not happy where I was at with my youngest son's father. And he's a fine person, but just not, things with us were not good. We just, too much conflict. And it was getting to the point where it was bringing out the worst of us, because I don't want to be rude to him in any way. You know, but I think it was bringing the worst out. You know, he would be, at that time, he would be manipulative, and I would try to go, and it was this thing back and forth. And I finally, over the last year, realized, like, you just have to go. You can't come up with excuses. You can't, like, worry about if he's going to be okay. Are you going to be okay? Is this okay for your kids? Do your kids need to see, you know, the fighting, the bickering, the disassociation? We were, like, living two separate lives like roommates. And it wasn't fair to him either, even though he kept trying to pull me back, because I think it was comfort. Because we were together for over 10 years. So, yeah, and so it's not like it was just a little bit. But, you know, I had encouragement from some really solid people in my life, and they're like, we're not saying anything bad about him, but, you know, kind of shit or get off the pot kind of thing. Am I supposed to say shit?
You could say whatever you want. It's
All
a
right.
podcast.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I'll just keep it a little quieter than the other podcast we were talking about, though. I won't go too wild.
We were talking about your mom's house. I'm ratting her out. She likes to listen to your mom's house.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely was a good one that my boyfriend got me into. Yep. I get cracked up about that one. But
I know they like we're going down another rabbit hole, but they'll on the mic they'll be like like they'll drink and then burp. I'm like, what? That was in my ear.
And they're like, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah.
That's a response. If you were there, and they'd be like, yes, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
But no, besides that, you know, you have the really rough times with a relationship, and a lot of times people, they want to stay with someone because they think it'll get better, and great for commitment. It's not like I was trying to not work things out, but after a while, I just knew it wasn't working. I think
Right.
a lot of times, like, and you know in your heart and you can, like, feel it inside that this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just you
Just
have to
go.
make the break because it's bad for your children. My
Right.
my kids are way happier, and I'm happier. My
Right.
ex is happier. He's, everyone's happier. So
Mm-hmm.
I encourage people, if you're in a bad place where things aren't working out. I mean, he was never like physically abusive or anything like that, but
Right.
definitely if they're physically abusive, let's just go. But on top of that, I had lost one of my best friends who was like a brother to me, and we were actually in a spat. Sometimes we get in spats and we don't talk for a while,
Oh.
and I lost him when we were in the middle of having one of those spats of not talking. And that really woke me up too, because he was one that was like, I don't have a problem with, your son's dad. I won't say names. But you really, like, we could get a house. I can help you. He had his own business. We could live platonically. It would have been fine. And I just was like, no, I got to do it on my own. And I never did it. And so I felt like I had to do it, not for him, but I'm like, you know what? No, this is not going to be good. He's going to like haunt me now and be like, you need to go. But no, it was really hard. I make jokes about stuff often then when I'm like sad about stuff, but then
So you kind of associate yourself with, I mean, obviously you love comedy because you talked about all the comedy podcasts you listen to.
mhm.
So you're kind of like me, like whenever something bad happens, you start making jokes about it. It kind of helps you
Kind
get through
of.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some couth. I'm good. Like, I won't just like make jokes at a funeral, but
Oh my
like
gosh.
I won't. But like I definitely, I just try to like be lighthearted, and I don't know. I don't like to feel down in the dumps,
Mhm.
and I'm not good at being sad. So I'm better at being funny
Right.
or turning sadness into anger, which, but funny is probably the better bet.
Yeah.
But it's just,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's just one of those. I had so many things come at me, and then trying to like purchase a home in this market.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
It's insane.
have you been at your home for a while, or did you purchase in the craziness?
No, we've lived here for 5 years, and so it was before COVID,
Mm-hmm.
but it's insane because our house value has gone up in the last year like $60,000 at
Kinda nice.
least, at least, and we wanted to have some construction done. We wanted to do an addition and everything, and we're like, oh, we can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with the housing market and everything, it had a lot of value to our house. And we definitely could afford it at normal rates, but because of COVID, all the pricing for lumber and everything is just ridiculous. So it was like triple the amount. So we were like, yeah, we can't do that.
Aw, that's a bummer.
But
I mean,
I understand what you're saying. I would never buy a house right now.
it was hard. Like, I mean, I broke up with my ex August 1st
Wow.
of last year, and I moved out February 16th
'Cause you
of
couldn't find-
2021
Wow.
because we were going back and forth on who's going to stay at the house. And finally, I was like, he's not going to go. I'm going to have to go. Like, I'm going to have to go. He's not going to find a place. He was telling me he wanted, well, then I guess you got to wait until I can buy a house. And then I didn't think he was looking, so I was like, all right, well, I'm going to buy the house. So, like, I started looking in October, and I put an offer on a house the end of October, beginning of November
Okay.
last year. And then I pulled out of that house because it was a cute place, but something didn't sit right with me.
Mhm.
And I still had the ability to do so after my inspection. So I was like,
Right.
nope, I don't want it anymore. And then I started looking again. And it was a bidding war. I went to this one house, super cute, over in the East Side neighborhood.
Okay.
And it was, you can come from like 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. for 15 minutes, one day only. Oh, it was 11/11, November 11th. You can come from this time period and look at the house, and they're taking the biggest and best offer.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I guess I'll look, and this is what I'll give them. But didn't get that, obviously.
There was we had an electrician come because we're we're not doing the addition, but in the meantime, we're still doing some of the work that we were planning on doing for the addition. So we're having an electrician come to upgrade some things, and he was like, yeah, the housing market right now is insane. He was like, I was just at a house, and he told me how much they were asking for it, but he said somebody offered 30,000 over what it was worth just because they wanted it. And I'm like, holy cow, they're going to be upside down in that. I don't understand how anybody's going to make it after this market crashes.
I know, and that's the thing. Like, I think I did good with the house that I did end up with. I still was higher than what I wanted to go.
Right.
I think a lot of people are probably in the same boat. Like, more than what I wanted to spend, but at least I think I'll still have a good turnaround when things slow down too.
Right.
Hopefully, because I don't want to live there forever, but it's great for us for now.
So where'd you find a house now? Without giving out your specific location.
Over by Francis Park area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a nice area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's definitely better than living in an apartment, especially when you have
Yeah.
kids. Like, it's just...
We needed space.
Yeah.
This is like the perfect amount of space.
Yeah.
And just enough for me to be able to maintain and... But it was crazy. Like, I actually almost rented a place. I signed the papers and gave them like a small deposit on it in the beginning of December. And then I thought I was going to get this other house, and so I had canceled that transaction, and they were good about it. I actually knew the landlord.
Oh, wow.
And he's a great guy. He's done a lot for the city. And
cool.
then I told him, well, I think I got this other house, and they were like, okay, well, no, good luck, and we're good. And I said, okay, cool. Well, and tons of people were wanting to rent, so they were not no lack of renter to fill the spot.
Right.
But then we just had our last Christmas with the kids all together, and we did that last real, where, it's not going to be the same, that's good. But it was good for the kids that I guess I was there another month, like doing that. And then in the beginning of January, I found my house. I had 4 houses lined up to see, and that was the second one. And we walked out, and I said, can I go back in? She's like, why? I'm like, I want to do a second showing. Is that okay? Did you already lock the doors and everything? She's like, no, we can go back in. I was like, all right, this is it. And I felt good to sell that to my realtor, because that girl worked her butt off. She took me so many places, and she's like, it is what it is right now.
Do you want to give her a shout out?
Rachel Miller at the Mitten Home Team. Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah,
Okay.
I love Rachel. So yes, for sure.
So if you're looking for a house, go to Rachel.
Yeah, definitely. She'll work her butt off for you. I was texting her. Oh, she's gonna hate this, right? I would just text her not wee hours, but if it's like a Saturday or Sunday, and I mean, I tried to be like, she has a life too.
You're pretty courteous of when you reach out.
I tried, but sometimes with the market the way it was, you kind of had to be like, this house just listed. I want to see it, kind of thing. Yeah. She's great. I still check in with her now just because she has a great personality.
That's cool.
But then, like, we were in the process. I think I was going to my first inspection. Like, my brother, so I do have an actual brother. He was kind of a bad kid, and he got wound up into bad things, and he had been in prison on and off throughout the years. And he was released in November.
Okay.
So he was in Battle Creek and had just started a new job somewhere, I think in Marshall, but having to do his halfway house stuff.
Oh, right.
And I get this call, the week before I'm about to have my inspection for my house, that we're going to Kalamazoo. Your brother had a seizure. He's in intensive care. Blah, 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 blah. Parents, and it's COVID. So my mom was up in the hospital the whole time, and my dad had just sit out in their van waiting and texting and calling. And then rough. I'm like, right, so you throw that in there, and I'm like, living with my ex, things are getting rougher and rougher and rougher. Like, it's not cute. Like, we're having a hard time living together at all. And then, the kids, obviously, somebody has to take care of the children. I will give him props, though. During the whole problems with my brother being in the hospital and such, my ex was actually very awesome when he found out about that. But anyway.
Do you, quick question, real quick. Do you think COVID kind of accentuated the realization, like, okay, I need to...
Oh, yeah.
We're home together all the time. I don't like this. We need to end this.
Yeah, there was a lot more time to reflect on what are we doing?
I feel like that was probably one of the better things about COVID is it made people realize that they needed to make significant changes in their life, whether it was their job or it was their relationship or it was them needing to lose weight. They realized that they needed to get their shit together because this life could end. You know, we don't know what COVID really is,
right?
And we could die tomorrow, and I'm not happy. I need a change.
Exactly. And that was the thing, like, between my friend passing away and then talking, like, a couple of my friends. One of my friends was funny. He was like, Kasey, you were like a broken record. Like, what are you going to do? And I feel like when he said that to me, that I just had this fire in my stomach, like, even more.
Right.
Like, 'cause I was like, oh my God, this guy's like my best friend. My old best friend that passed away would be saying the same thing. You know, like, when, like, do you have to get hit over the head and dragged out? Like, you're not happy, just
felt
do
like
it.
At some point you need to get your shit together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, COVID definitely.
I feel like COVID ruined so many relationships.
It probably, well, maybe it ruined them, but, like, at the same time, were they worth being in for each other?
Right.
Because what if you guys are with, like, you know, with these people that were in bad relationships? You know, you're just not right for each other.
Right.
Separate.
Right.
Because now my ex is quite happy. He found a lovely girl.
Awesome.
And, I mean, I hope things work out good for him.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you don't have to hate him or hate and hope for the worst for him.
No, definitely not. I'd rather deal with him being happy. We have the kid together. I want him to be a happy guy if I got to deal with him.
Exactly. So your brother's in the hospital and you're struggling probably emotionally with that because he had a seizure.
So he had
seizure.
Yeah, so he had the seizure, but then it caused a heart attack.
Okay.
Because, like, he had essentially choked on vomit, and we didn't know what the cause was, but we had known that he had had seizures when he was in prison.
Wow.
And we don't know what type of medical type help that he gets there.
Right.
Like, if they're checking in on if he has a disorder or some type of problem.
Real quick again, I had a guy on yesterday who was in prison for 24 years, and he works for the Michigan Justice Advocacy something. Can't remember the name now. Anyways, he was telling me that the care you get in prison is absolutely terrible. Like, he was talking about, for instance, they had potatoes served at chow one time that had like maggots in it, and that was like something that was of the norm. Like, he just talked about it like it was no big deal. Like, yeah, I just have to eat around it.
He's conditioned to it.
Right. And I'm just like, you just said that, like, that's not a big deal. And he's like, yeah. He's like, you just have to, eat around it. And I'm like, what? So I would imagine that the care that they receive in prison probably is very little to none.
Right. I think the only facility, and this was in Coldwater when my brother was in Coldwater, they had a pretty good psych facility. Okay. But he almost got beat to death in the UP prison, and we didn't find out until he had already had surgery and he was healed. Like, as family, okay, he has no rights, but his family I feel like we should have been notified that he had his face beat in.
Right.
Like, we heard from another inmate called his mother and said, please call this family and tell them what happened.
Wow.
And so we get this random call from this woman because this is just
right.
It's a whole different world.
Right.
Like, this is just, there's the prison life for them, and then there's being the family, mourning your family member because of their bad choices that have put them where they're at.
Right.
Like, I'm not like condoning any of his behaviors in the past, But
there's definitely flaws in the system.
there is, like, why am I hearing from this stranger that he's almost like beat to death?
Wow.
So that,
Was he in the hospital for that?
I think in the prison hospital. But I will say, like, they had like busted out his eye socket,
Oh my gosh.
and but they did reconstructive, and he looked great. So that was a plus, because with all these horror stories we're talking about for
Right.
prisoners, like, I understand they've screwed up in life,
Mhm.
maybe really horrible, maybe
Yeah.
stuff that makes you ill to think about, but they're still people. I mean, like, they still deserve, maybe they shouldn't get like shrimp cocktail and stuff because but I'd rather take a PB&J than maggot potatoes.
So I want to touch on this real quick. This is another rabbit hole we're going to go down, but since your brother was in prison, so you have kind of a personal experience with it. You have kind of a personal you kind of can look at it from a more personal perspective. The guy I had on yesterday, he's from the Michigan Justice Advocacy Program, and what they're advocating for is 30-day or good behavior. So, like, if you have 30 days of good behavior, you get 30 days off your sentence. What do you think about something like that? Do you think that's something that should be done? Because right now, what he was saying was that Michigan is one of the only places where you have to serve your whole time. So, like, if they say that, you're sentenced to 10 to 15 years, you're serving 15. You're not serving 10. You're serving 15. And then after that, you're up for like some sort of review or something before they release you. And then you could be in there potentially for another year and a half until it's decided on when you're going to be released. So you could end up serving 17 years for a 15-year sentence.
Right. I think that would be a positive thing, and it would give them something to work towards.
Right.
And I always pronounce this wrong. I'm going to try my best. Or how about this? It's called the revolving door. And you can look up the word recidivism.
Recidivism?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That word. So it's a revolving door.
Right.
Like, you have to give something. What do you work towards? You work hard. I work hard. He works hard. We work hard for what? We have homes.
Right.
We have our cars. We have our things to take care of our families. And then sometimes we can go do fun things. If you're staring in this little box, you put yourself there. I get it. But let's have, we're trying to rehabilitate, I thought.
Right.
Are we trying to rehabilitate these people, or are we just trying to keep them coming through the doors?
Right.
So if you really want to help people, let's address their mental concerns. Let's address their inabilities. Do they need a skill? Well, they're just here. So, and I know they do have programs for skills. I know my brother did quite a few things.
So he was also, I asked him about that because this guy, he was in prison for 24 years. He went in when he was 16 and got out when he was like 40. But anyways, he went to college a few different times, and he was real educated and super intelligent guy. And I'm like, is this an opportunity that's available to just any inmate? And he's like, well, I mean, they had programs, but the problem is the funding. And the problem is like if somebody wants to go to school while they're in prison, their family has to pay for it. So, and he said when their family's paying for it, they're paying the price of like going to like U of M or MSU for a local community college to come in and teach them a course.
Right, and
that's insane.
That seems like yeah, that needs to be adjusted.
Absolutely.
Big time, because like it's not like they're coming out as doctors. So then why are they paying? Yeah, I mean, okay, if there's a little bit of extra fee for them to be involved because they got whatever additional cost associated, then okay, that's one thing if they want to do that. But I mean, he would do more of the skill programs. Like he was learning how to make leather work, like on purses, and putting just making them look unique, and indent like flowers and different things. So he learned a few things there. I'm sure he did other stuff. I mean, he was there for quite a while, but the big thing with him was they're just sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in COVID, this guy, I mean, he's always been not like tiny, but he wasn't a fat kind of boy. He was, he was always pretty fit.
Okay.
And he would work out in prison because
Mm-hmm.
there was that to do.
Right.
But because of COVID,
That's what I would do in prison. I'd get jacked.
I know, like I would be so super awesome right now. I don't want to go on the prison workout though. I'm gonna be a good person and do the things I'm supposed to do, right? But no, when he came out and I seen him and I hadn't seen him in years, he was pretty hefty because they had to keep him locked up for COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and so they had to keep him
In their
tucked
cells.
away. And then they got all these guys. So like he was at a federal prison.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he actually had gotten time off of his sentence.
Oh wow.
So, they were like, he's like, they're throwing honey buns and stuff at us just to keep us happy. I think I've gained
Wow.
like 40 pounds. And
Oh wow.
I was like, oh, chubby brother. And he's like, yeah, shut up. But I am. And I was like, you'll lose it quick. Don't worry. But yeah, like
Yeah,
it had to have been hard for them in there.
I would imagine because you can't really work out because I was talking to the guy yesterday and he was like, I was like, how big is your cell? And he's like, well, I like to say that it's like a closet. They put you in a closet. He's like, it's literally like a quarter of the size of this area. And he's like, so he's like, it's just 2 bunks and two guys. You have a toilet and a sink. I'm like, so you can't even lay on the ground and do a push up? And he's like, not with the other guy in there.
No.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I could not imagine that.
Yeah. I don't wish that for anybody.
So did your brother recover? Did he get out of the hospital? Is he okay?
No.
No.
No. No, and that was the other thing. So that inspection, I want to say the inspection I did, I want to say a couple days before he officially passed.
Oh, jeez.
Like, yeah, so I'm like trying to buy a house, living with the ex, doing all these things, trying to be there for, of course, for my kids and do my job.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this design stuff always gets put on pause. Like
Right.
my art and all that, I love it so much, but that's like the first thing that goes on pause when everything's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I remember telling Rachel, I'm like, listen, this is going on, ... I might be kind of out of it. Just like kind of keep me focused. And she's like, okay. Yeah.
Who's Rachel? Oh, that's
The
right.
realtor,
The
yeah.
realtor, that's
Rachel at KW. Yeah, I was like, sorry if I'm just kind of not myself. And she's like, no, you're a good girl. And so we went in, did the inspection and everything. And then we had decided that it was, we decided over the weekend. I did the inspection on a Monday. So I'm sorry, I jumped around a little bit.
You're good.
That's normal for me. There we go, A.D.D. But it was so over the weekend. My cousin is actually a neuro nurse, and she lives in Pennsylvania. And the only people allowed to call were me and my dad to talk to the nurses. And these nurses are talking to people nonstop and trying to do their jobs because of COVID restrictions.
Right.
Otherwise, normally you would be in the room and the nurse would be like, this is what's up. And then they go and then you tell your people, well, your family or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But these nurses are so overwhelmed. And then they have to put it in like normal people, layman's terms.
Right.
And so there was a lot of between me.
Disinformation.
Yeah,
going
between
on.
me and my dad in relating the information and us being out of it. And my cousins were like, I wish we could do something. And then I was explaining what was going on to my older cousin. Well, both my cousins live together in Pennsylvania, sisters. And my older cousin is the neuro nurse. And she was like, well, did she say this? Did she say that? And I was like, you know what? Can I put you on the call list? Why don't you make this nurse's day? You guys talk together, and then you tell us what you think is going to be best.
Right.
Because then I know her as my cousin who loves my brother is only going to advise us not based on not just probability of him having a good life after this problem, after this situation, but she'll advise us as a loving family member whether it's good or bad.
Right.
So, because they did their best, they kept him, from seizing and comfortable.
Was he
But
like in a comatose state?
yeah.
Wow.
And so she calls the nurse, and then she calls me, and she's like, it's not going to be okay. Like, he's not going to come back from this. And if he does, it's going to be a horrible vegetative state.
And was he still in prison at the time?
That's when he was,
He was released.
he was released, and he started this new job, and he was so proud of himself.
That's right.
Like, he was so proud of his job and all that. So at least he left, I guess, on a good note. Like, he felt good about himself finally.
Right.
And so that makes me feel better. And he knew that my life was changing. So that makes me feel better. But yeah, like, and then I had to tell my parents, like, well,
oh my gosh.
Like, I gave Amy, the cousin, I gave Amy my spot on the call list, and she talked to the nurse. And my parents, I was like, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but I don't know how long you guys want to do this. But she said this isn't a gonna come back situation.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so they gave it some time before, because we were going to do the gift of life, because I had told them, I said, if there's anything, he would want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anything good that he can provide someone, I think that we should look into that. So he was able to do the gift of life.
Awesome.
But then they had a whole ceremony at the hospital, like they do. I wasn't there.
Were you guys allowed to go?
I was actually told I could go.
Okay.
And I just went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I was like, I'm sorry. I just want to remember my brother when he hugged me in the rain, because it was pouring the day that I saw him. And my last, I want to just...
You want your memory of him to be good.
Yep. So the 12th of January, he passed away.
Wow.
So officially. Oh, yeah, we got a friend.
We do.
You should be really proud of me, because I was like, no, I'm just going to sit up straight, and I'm not going to look down. And I love animals, but I'm like, I gotta be next to the microphone.
She loves people, and every podcast I do, she has to make her way through here. And she yesterday was walking on the table, and I'm like, Ella, get out of here.
Oh, there. I gave her a little attention. Oh no, she wants to sniff on my purse down there.
Oh jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a super sad story. I'm surprised you made it through it without crying.
I don't know, like, it's hard, but it sucks horribly.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that's lost someone in any type of way, they know, it sucks. But I guess I'm trying to think of the best way to put it is, when you lose someone that you're used to losing all the time, it's a weird grief, because it's kind of like he's still in prison.
Right.
Like, so sometimes it hits you like a ton of bricks, and you're like, he's not going to call. He's not going to send a letter. He's not in prison. He was out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when you have the breakdown.
Right.
That's when you're like, ugly cry and can't breathe, and though it happens.
I'm sure.
I try to be pretty tough. I've tried to also let my emotions out more, because sometimes I can be too strong about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like,
then eventually you just have kind of an explosion.
yeah, I don't want to have the explosion.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to deal with that now that I'm away from all the other wildness in life.
Right. How have you managed to deal with that? All the emotions and suppressing them? You just talk about things more? Do you meditate? Do you do like yoga or anything like that?
I was trying to get more into like meditating and relaxing, but that's where I found myself again back at my art too, because that's kind of a meditative. Even if I make something and I'm like, oh, this is terrible, and I just clean slate it.
Right.
It's still like a relaxing form. And then my dog is like helpful, and then my boyfriend's dog. That dog. That dog, actually, because me and him have been friends a really long time. And I normally, when I didn't think I was actually going to be finding anyone right away. That was not a focus at all. It was just it just very natural.
It just happened.
And nothing was ever happening prior to throughout our friendship ever. I'm not, like
you don't have to justify
no,
anything.
but if you see, like, it's kind of odd. I'm like, oh, well, then I say, oh, my boyfriend. And they're like, wait a minute, what's the timeline here? She broke up with this guy, she moved, and then so anyway,
screw those people. It's none of their business.
Yeah, just because I'm telling you my business, it doesn't mean it's yours. It's still mine.
You can do whatever you want.
Right, but I mean, it just his dog, I loved his dog, and I was like, oh, your dog's so awesome, right? And so then I ended up, after a while, I was like, well, I really want a dog, because I always had a dog growing up, and my dog has been, she is the biggest pain in the ass sometimes, because she thinks she's a baby lap dog, and she's like 80-pound mastiff.
Oh, wow.
And she's the smaller one out of all the group.
Wow.
Her brother's 150 or so pounds, so I'm glad she's smaller, but she's so tough. But she's just my big, like, cuddle bug.
That's cool.
She relaxes me, and then me and his dog, we have a good little connection. So I share time between my house and his house, and so, like, yeah, I get my dog therapy.
So that helps out a lot.
Yeah, I think it does. And, of course, my kids are, like, number one on the list. Like, that's just a given.
Right.
Most of the time, except for sometimes they can be turds. They are kids.
Are you going to glare into the camera in case I see this?
Give them the mom look. Pop the eyebrow up, like, what are you doing right now? They're probably doing something terrible.
Probably.
Video games, snacks.
Oh, jeez.
That's what's happening right now. Minecraft and GTA.
Oh, jeez. Have you seen those videos do you watch TikTok at all?
Oh, yeah, my younger kid got me watching them recently.
Oh, my gosh. It's such a waste of time.
I know. I need to delete it.
Me too. It's terrible. I'm ashamed.
All right. Never mind.
Okay, there was a issue with the camera, I guess. Yeah, I'm ashamed of TikTok because I'll lay in bed after I'm done for the evening, going to bed, and I'll just sit there and watch TikTok videos for like an hour, and I'm like, I just wasted so much time.
Well, you just made me feel better, though, because I felt bad. I was like, he's going to say like 20 minutes, and I think I was on that for an hour the other day.
It's so easy to get involved. You're like, what's the next one? Oh, that one's done. What's the next one? Oh, that's a good one. Just one more. Oh, that was good.
Oh, my son introduced me to this one lady who writes, I guess, like vampire books or whatever, and I don't care much about that, but she tells really bad dad jokes, and she apparently has a sleepwalking disorder.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
And so she will clip her best parts of her sleepwalking.
She has a camera set up?
Yeah, her husband has cameras everywhere because she's like straight up went outside, and the neighbors apparently put a letter on the door that said, your wife was out here and it's cold and we can see on our camera that she wasn't, I don't even think she was wearing clothes. And so some of it might be a little bit, like they might put on a show with it. But
right.
I think she does legitimately have a sleepwalking disorder.
That's hilarious. Because, I mean, it probably started from her just having a sleep disorder. And then they're like, okay, we can totally capitalize on this.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, what was I going to say about TikTok? Oh, yeah, there's these TikTok videos of like these moms, and there's Ella jumping on the table. There's these TikTok videos of these moms like making fun of their kids while playing video games. I don't know if you've seen those.
I haven't watched the ones of the moms
No.
playing the video games. No, I think I've seen like old YouTube videos of the moms where they would act like they're the kids.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. They sit next to them and they'll be like, "Oh, bro, that's totally wicked," or they'll say things that the kids say, and the kids get really ashamed and embarrassed. But yeah, it's hilarious. It's a giant waste of time.
And what's bad about it is my youngest was like, "You should do TikTok videos of you when you paint."
Yeah,
like, so then, because people love that, and then you can link that to this and that. So my little one is telling me how to market. And I'm like, I don't like being on the camera. I don't like doing this and that. And bye, Kitty.
This is the cat.
That's fine. Kitty can be... I'll move these off of here in case she jumps again. There
Yeah,
you go.
she loves people.
Wow, she's a nice cat.
She showed up in our garage one day. It was during the winter time, and we had just gotten another cat, and I didn't really like cats. I'm like, I don't really want a cat.
Mhm.
But I broke down because my daughter wanted a cat, so we ended up getting one because I had a friend that knew of one, and he brought him over, and then like a month or two later, she showed up, and she was in the garage, dead winter, and I'm like, I can't just leave her out there. So we brought her in and kind of got her acclimated, and she's an awesome cat. I call her our little gangster because she's from the streets.
That's cute. Well, she seems very nice.
Yeah, she's sweet. So, yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything you want to share on the podcast? Maybe to bring some awareness, anything else? Or
Well, I guess that my motive just stemmed from me having like quite a few difficulties in life, like a lot of people have, and still carrying on.
right.
Like there is hope. You can change where you're at, wherever you're at, but you have to make the change. And I mean, I'm trying to buy, trying to buy the house,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just having things come up against me.
Mhm.
Like on top of that, you're going back and forth with your lenders, and you're going back and
Right.
forth with this, and so you've got all the stress from this.
Yeah.
You're living with your ex. You are losing your brother. You are also buying a house for the first time for me. There was a lot going on. And I just kept looking at it as not an obstacle, but just like the next thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone can take anything away from it, like, just do it. Just do whatever.
Mhm.
Don't keep sitting on it. If it's not making you happy, it's not going to change. What will change is what you make happen. Like,
Right.
you make the things. You make all the things happen.
Absolutely. And the thing is, what you were talking about was like being diagnosed later on in life with ADHD and ADD. A lot of people have that. It's
Mhm.
not an uncommon thing. A lot of people do.
Right.
And so imagine if you feel like you have that and you decided that I need to do something about it to be more productive, the change that you can make in your life, I mean, it could be tremendous.
Right. I mean, I essentially think that I could have been on this path that I'm on 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
maybe more. But everybody I wouldn't regret anything. Like, it's fine.
Mhm.
It is what it is. And
You
now
live and
you're,
learn.
Yep. And you're that much more thankful
Right.
where you get too, I think. But yeah, a lot of people have that. And if you can control, which is diet and exercise and changing what you eat, a lot of the
Mhm.
food has so much stuff packed into it.
Oh yeah.
I usually shop on the outside
Mhm.
and dip in the aisles a little
Right.
bit here and there,
Yeah.
but the stuff in the middle is usually
Junk.
and even so I just want people to just hopefully just have the strength to just do what they need to do to make themselves happy and succeed.
One thing I wanted to ask you too, real quick, do you do anything with supplements to help? Like, because I know, like, I think fish oil
Mhm.
helps a lot with ADD.
Yeah.
Helps you focus a little bit. Do you do anything with that?
Yeah, I actually started this new vitamin is Ritual, and then I have my probiotic, and then fish oil. Was it the GNC has I haven't bought this, but it's one that I use, and I
Okay.
need to get more of I think it's CLA
Okay.
is the combination. I want to say fish
Okay.
oils in it, and it has some other oils.
Okay.
But that really does help. For me,
Okay.
I think I don't get all the nutrients from my food every day,
Mhm.
so that definitely will help someone that has ADD. So then maybe you don't have to take the actual medicine.
Right.
Like I just choose to take it.
Right.
But if they don't want to take that, or maybe they can get on low dose if they
Right.
have to have it, and just more neutralize the poor parts of ADD with diet and exercise.
Right. There's more holistic ways to go about
Yes.
it. And I remember when I was, I think I was in middle school. My adopted mom, she she always thought I had ADD too. And maybe I do. I don't know. But she would make me eat these. They're like, it was fish oil, but it was the gel. It was so disgusting. I hated it. And then eventually she put me on Adderall, and I didn't like the way that made me feel. So I'd flush it down the sink every morning. And really what it boiled down to, what I realized it boiled down to for me was that I just wasn't putting in effort. Because I wasn't doing well in school, and that's why she thought I had ADD. She thought I couldn't focus. But I just wasn't putting in the effort. But I didn't want her to know that I was flushing these down the sink, and so I would act like I took it every morning. I'd just flush it down, and then I just started doing better in school. And then like a couple months later, she's like, "See that it's really helping." I'm like, "Yeah, it's totally helping."
It's like the extreme placebo effect helping.
Yeah.
So placebo, I don't even take it.
Yeah, so
That's great.
I just realized that for me, it was I just wasn't putting in effort, and I don't know if I figured out a process that helped me focus more or whatever, but I knew that I didn't want to take the medication, and so I just did it.
Well, I was going to try harder because I don't want to take it either. I think it's terrible for you.
Yeah.
But it's like so night and day. Like if I'm like, sometimes if like I have 2 offices, so if I'm leave my medicine at one office, my home office, and then work at my other office, I'm like, but then I think it may be a mental trick because I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I don't have it. Great. The whole day is going to be bad.
Right.
So that's the other problem, having chemical dependencies, because then I'm counting on that.
Right, the drug.
So
yeah,
if someone needs it, then great, but
I think it's important to just be accountable to yourself. Have some sort of maybe even accountability partner, or even just to be like, I'm going to do this amount of work within this amount of time. I'm not going to touch my phone or whatever until then. And it's so hard to, like, especially if it's your phone, to not be like, oh,
I know.
But that's also kind of part of being accountable to yourself, is setting these goals in your head.
Yeah, no TikTok.
No TikTok.
No TikTok.
I don't even I try not to open TikTok during the day, because then all accountability is gone.
See, I haven't gotten that bad about it yet. Hopefully I don't. I'll be good. I just won't, because it's more like my son will come out and he'll be like, "Hey, did you see this thing?" Or, "Oh, how many views did you get on that video?" And I was like, "I don't know. I haven't looked at it in like 5 days." Like,
so you don't care about the views?
No. He got, I couldn't believe this. The video wasn't even that great. Like, I mean, I love my kid, but it was like, it wasn't even anything spectacular.
Right.
He knew it too. But he got like over like 50,000 views.
Holy cow.
And then I'm like, what? Will you throw some shout outs to me then?
Can you give me some shout outs?
Yeah. But then he got locked out of that account and he had to start a new one. And I'm like, well, great.
That's crap.
Yeah.
That sucks.
But yeah, no TikToks.
Yeah, no TikToks. Stay away from TikTok, people. All right. Well, it's been nice talking to you. You struggle with stuff that everybody else struggles with, but I think it's a good thing, because everybody struggles with it. And so it's good for somebody to come on and kind of share how they manage to, live a productive life, and what's worked for them. What worked for you may not work for other people. Right. But it's your responsibility to make sure that you can figure that out. Everybody's different. Everybody's brain chemistry is different. Everybody reacts to different things. So you got to find out what works for you.
No, I really like that. Hold your accountability. Like, what's accountable for you? And I agree.
Accountability is a big thing. I mean, and like you said, you like to write things down, like make lists and stuff. That's another way to keep yourself accountable, because if you write something down and at the end of the day you don't accomplish those things, you feel like shit. You're like, I'm a piece of shit and finished. I didn't work out today, or I didn't paint what I was going to paint, or I didn't promote something that I was going to promote. Right. Or for me, I didn't edit a podcast that I wanted to edit. It's like, so.
As long as they're goal oriented, I guess.
Right, and it's important to writing things down. Absolutely, it's great meeting you. really nervous to come on and share her story.
I don't like to be on the cameras, but here I am.
Here you are. And it wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't. It was great.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.